This is an event that I have tried to, thank you, tried to get off the ground for 2 years now. I really felt strongly that this was an event that needed to come to Simcoe County. A recent study shows that over 50% of Canadians will not eat a meal prepared by someone living with HIV. Absolutely ridiculous, antiquated fears that we need to smash, and we do that by educating people. With my amazing group of folks that are with HIV behind me, all folks local living here in Simcoe County, I really hope we're able to do that, raise that awareness. I've been living with HIV since February of 2015, so the night of our event, it'll be 5 days away from my 5-year anniversary. And as I've always said, I've considered myself an HIV baby, being diagnosed in 2015 at a time where there were medications available to allow me to get healthy very quickly and live a normal life without any of the worries associated with what an early diagnosis of HIV was for folks living in the late 80s, early 90s, before antiretroviral meds. And I felt, because of sort of that timing, I had an obligation and almost a calling to be able to talk about the fact that I am someone living with HIV and to normalize it.
This is just an amazing thing to be a part of. It was, I had the privilege of being one of the chefs at June's the first time this was done in the world, and this is the second. And I'm so pleased that it's here where I live in Simcoe County. Simcoe County needs to hear this message.
Cooking a meal with fellow HIV positive individuals, and then to share it with the community and have those conversations at that table, that we can smash stigma around HIV, and that it's important to have those conversations.
You know, it's all about smashing stigma. We just need to bring the awareness out there of where we are today with the science surrounding HIV, and we need to get that information out there.
Be My HIV Valentine to me means taking on something that is important, that is taking on an advocacy, something that's affecting marginalized individuals that I feel are, for me, some of the greatest work that I'm doing in my life. I'm honored and proud to stand with each and every one of my HIV cooks that I'm working with today. And these are, they're not just living with HIV, they are striving in their efforts in pursuits of what they're doing and what they believe is the most important work in their life. That's finding their voice, finding their identity.
Again, the idea of being able to share the truth and educate folks around what it means to live with HIV and the fact what it means to be undetectable or have a suppressed viral load goes a long way to helping dismantle that stigma, as well as an event like this. Be My HIV Valentine is a great way to combine that message of smashing stigma around the message of love, because that's what ultimately we're all searching for. So that was Be My HIV Valentine. What an amazing event held at the Drawers Kitchen and Design Studio on the evening of Valentine's Day, February the 14th, so just a few weeks back. And I am privileged again to have as my guests this evening those three individuals living with HIV in Simcoe County who joined me as chefs for the evening, trained by the wonderful Suzanne Barr, who you saw in the opening video as well. So please welcome to the show, Guy, Carla, and Kelly. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, Be My HIV Valentine has now come and gone. I don't know about the three of you, but for me, it still feels like an out-of-body experience for me when I look at the video that we just showed, and when I think back to the evening. It's sort of like I'm watching everything from afar, and it's funny looking back and seeing some of the pictures and the video that have been released around the event, and not really being. I mean, we were so much in the moment that, for me anyway, I didn't really feel like I experienced it. So watching the video and seeing the pictures again that have come out, it's like, oh, a different perspective. So I'm going to start with you, Kelly. Tell me a little bit about how you felt the evening went and just your overall impression of Be My HIV Valentine.
Yeah, I thought it went really, really well. It was very busy, and again, the same thing like you just said. Like, it just felt like you were just there. Like, there was no one saying anything like wrong or saying anything like against being there. It was just an experience that was just amazing, and I was so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're certainly happy to have you as a part of it. I know for you especially, it was a major step for you in disclosing your status so openly and publicly for the first time too. So I commend you for that and can congratulate you for your courage in doing that. I think it was wonderful, and that for me really put the emphasis on the event as well. Having someone like you who, after being diagnosed 35 years ago and just now feeling comfortable enough to disclose that status publicly, that's a huge step. And I'm not saying that anyone ever has to take that step. That's a very personal decision to make, but I think your willingness to do that around this event really helped to put the exclamation point on what we were trying to accomplish in smashing stigma. I think you've made huge strides in that, and it's going to help a ton of folks within our community. So
yeah, it's been a long road coming, and it's just the timing was perfect, and to do the event surrounded by my friends and colleagues is just amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was.
Carla, what were your thoughts on Be My HIV Valentine? Okay, that's enough.
Is Chef
Kidding. Oh, we all know that. We love you dearly, but
I like to clean. That worked out well. Dishes, all that. But it was a fantastic event. Absolutely. Like you said, it just felt surreal. There was zero stigma, so it was almost just like another day of not cooking, just cleaning. No, it was a spectacular evening. Yeah, fun had by all. And yeah, I definitely wanted to point out that your disclosure of your status was just a perfect timing, absolutely perfect. It was exactly what it was there for. Yeah.
Well, and the whole point of doing this was obviously to address stigma around folks living with HIV preparing a meal, and this is something that was sort of born out of Casey House's June's Eatery event back in 2017. And June's Eatery is happening again. By the time this show airs, actually, June's Eatery will be done for 2020. And Guy, who was part of the original June's Eatery in Toronto for Casey House, and where we actually met for the first time, and having you on board for this project, and Guy, like myself, are also part of the new rendition of June's that's happening this week. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts around this local event and how you compare that to June's, and why you think it's important that we had this sort of event here in Simcoe County.
Well, what I really enjoyed about the event was the atmosphere and the interaction. There was such a wide cross-section of people, and they were all engaged, and they all seemed to be having a great time. And what I really liked about what we did here was the setup at Drawers. We were right there cooking in front of them, and it was a very closed-in space. It was very informal, and as I said, the atmosphere was just great. Everybody was engaged. Everybody seemed to really like the food, and went down very well. Suzanne did an amazing job. She was great fun to work with and to learn from, and I think it was a pretty good rendition compared to June's. I mean, it's I wouldn't have thought Simcoe County would be up there in doing an event as out there as this, as bold and innovative as what June's was in its first iteration. But hats off to you, my friend, for driving this. I think it's HIV shouldn't be on the back burner. It's something that people should learn about and know about, because what's driving stigma is fear and ignorance, and all it takes is a little bit of education and communication, and we can get over that hump. And unfortunately, it's prevalent in our community, the LGBT community, as much as it is in the general population. So everybody needs to just take a moment to find out the facts and to learn, and we can overcome this. Yeah. And this was a great step to doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's the biggest hurdle that we have around HIV today, is the stigma, and the fact that when people think of HIV, they think of it in terms of the early days of the epidemic, and that lack of knowledge that was around the disease back then is still prevalent today, because unfortunately the information hasn't kept up to the science, and we don't have the awareness campaigns that we had back in the early days of the epidemic, where protect yourself, protect yourself. We don't have that same urgency in getting the important information out there that HIV is a manageable chronic illness now. That's not to say that there aren't folks that can't get to that manageable level, and that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about in doing Be My HIValen+ine as well, was that access to treatment piece, and the fact that while yes, we are all living with this illness and have reached an undetectable viral load and can't transmit the virus, there are still thousands of folks, probably millions across the world, living with HIV that, number one, don't know it, and number two, those that don't have access to care and treatment. And that's really where we need to focus our attention on now, making sure that now that we have the tools to end the epidemic, we need to make sure that there's access to those tools for everyone. So that's sort of my next project. I've got the wheels turning on an awareness campaign that I want to talk to our wonderful sponsors, ViV Healthcare, who helped us pay for this event, and maybe launch a campaign that I may tap each of you on the shoulder to join me for as well. But I do want to make sure that we talk about not only Suzanne and True Diner, Suzanne Barr, who was our celebrity chef that trained each of us, tried to train Carla, but that was probably the most fun for me, watching you try to cook. That was wonderful. But certainly our other partners in this event, Elevate, who this could not have happened without me being able to partner with Mark Hill and Jane Clementi around, who do the Elevate events in our area, and being able to partner with those folks who do these sort of dinners on a regular basis, where I had the idea of what I wanted to do and what it would look like, and certainly partnering with Elevate made the most sense to me. And of course, the folks at the Drawer Studio, being able to have that incredible space. And I've heard so many people talk about the fact that it was so great that they could actually watch us preparing the meal because the kitchen is right there. That was a big part, I think, of the success of this event, as you mentioned, Guy, that interaction, because it was constant. There was no getting away from us. No. You could not hide from the folks in with HIV. We were in your face. So I think that was important. I know you had some guests at the event. I think each of you had guests at the event as well. Did you get any feedback from the folks that you knew that were at the event and what their thoughts were behind it? I had my brother and his partner there, that they were just very excited to be there and just to be part of that event. He's known my status from day one, and he's been my biggest advocate and my biggest support is my brother.
And that was my reasoning for inviting him to come to the event. And he loved it. He loved it. It was just amazing. And he got to meet our ED and tell some deep, dark secrets that I didn't want to be told, but that's okay. So,
Never tell Jerry your deep dark secrets.
I was okay, but yeah, they really enjoyed it and had a good time.
Good.
Yes.
Good. And Carla, I think Jeff was there, right? Your partner?
That's my boyfriend, yes, HIV negative boyfriend.
I have a husband that's that way.
I know, isn't that nice to say? So yeah, no, he's 100% supportive. So, and he really enjoyed it. He enjoyed the chance to meet other people and watch me struggle with trying to do meal prep.
He didn't see you with the shrimp, though.
No. No.
And Guy, you had some guests there as well, if I'm not mistaken?
Brother and sister-in-law were there. They've always been supportive of me, and my brother's a chef, so it was great to cook for him, and they thoroughly enjoyed the event. They enjoyed the conversation and the connection that we created. And I think you brought up a good point as well. These things don't happen easily.
No.
There's a lot of work, we're the front guys for this, but a lot of work went into this. So, credit to you for coordinating this. And yeah, there are a lot of friends out there that made this happen. And the other one thing I just wanted to mention was, Casey House and the Gilbert Center are still very relevant today. We've come a long way, thankfully, but those organizations provide incredible support to people who need it, and they also are platforms for that education component, and both those things are equally important as we make progress. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, because you hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned. It's that education piece and awareness is extremely important when we talk about all LGBTQ issues, but certainly when we focus on HIV, which obviously was what this event was primarily focused on, and is obviously something very near and dear to each of us. That's where change happens, is when we educate folks and make them aware of what it means to live with HIV in 2020 and recognize that it's not 1985 any longer, and that we can live healthy, productive lives just as long as the general population, and not be a risk to anyone else. But again, it's that focus now on making sure that everyone living with HIV has the same access to care and treatment that we take for granted. We're very privileged in the position to be able to have that, and I think we can't lose sight of those folks that aren't as privileged as us. So that's why I say we look at doing some additional work around HIV awareness and making sure that all folks living with HIV have the same access to care and treatment that the four of us have. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on whether or not you do this again?
Oh, definitely, I would do it again. I think it's out there. Once you say it, you can't take it back, right? It's out in general public. It's been shown on Facebook. It's been on the news and everything like that. So once it's out there, right? I think it's just. Like I had one experience, I was wearing my hat in a grocery store and the girl said, interesting hat, but I just didn't have the energy just to go into the whole spiel, right? So it's interesting to recognize when you have that energy to be able to say those words and have that conversation, and the time to have that conversation with someone, because it's not just a quick conversation. It's, you need to educate them, right? But it's really, it's been very enlightening for me and very interesting. So I'm looking forward to what the future will bring, and the universe has it. They have it, and they'll look after it.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, the Be My HIValen+ine, when you're wearing the hat and you get those questions, and there are certainly times when you just don't have the energy. I know I've certainly felt that just since the event. I've had, I don't know whether it's just coming down from the event or just all of the work that went into getting this event out the ground. I mean, I've been trying to get this going for 2 years. And I know the last couple of weeks have been pretty difficult for me in my mental health, just trying to turn everything off, because it was like everything was on for so long, trying to get this off the ground, and then to have it now over. There's that disappointment factor as well, I guess. Sort of the, now what am I going to do? I've got lots of them. Don't worry, there'll be other things. But at the same time, I recognized, and I took a couple of days off work because I needed to just shut down and not have to talk about HIV for a few days because it was just, it gets to be a lot.
Well, and self-care is so important in the work that we do. Because we deal with like a lot of clients and stuff, but we need our own self-care, and shutting down for a couple of days, that is great. If that's what you need to take it.
Yeah, because we had this event, and then just after the event, we had a workshop in Toronto that we were at for a weekend, and you're right, and work in general, just so I needed to just, it was affecting me not only mentally but physically. I was not feeling well, so I was like, okay, we got to turn it all off right now. Carla, what about, same question to you, was this something that you would consider doing again? And
Absolutely. Like I said, it's all about smashing the stigma. That's the biggest hurdle for me, was the stigma. And now my goal is the whole access to meds, because that's, you lay the basis with U equals U, the undetectable equals untransmittable. We have that great basis, which we need to still keep talking about and getting it out there. But the next is the people that know it. I think that gives that encouragement to get tested, get a diagnosis, and get on your meds. So now we just need that easier access to medication, absolutely.
yeah, and I think you're right. Yeah, U equals U is the perfect argument for public health, and to acknowledge that the science is there to really end this epidemic. But it's the political will to make sure that, as you point out, the access to treatment and care is there for all folks living with HIV, and getting that message out there to help dismantle the stigma, because it's that stigma that keeps people from being tested. And I've said this stat on the show before, but there are 14% of those living with HIV in Canada don't realize that they're living with HIV. So that's almost 10,000 people. These are statistics from 2016. So, and sadly, within Canada, those rates are rising. We've certainly seen recent studies that come out showing that the rates of HIV are rising in Canada when it shouldn't. We look at other areas like the UK, for example, where we're seeing huge declines in the rate of HIV. And why? I mean, we're no different really, as far as I can see from the UK. And if we just put those same practices in place here in Canada, I mean, it's not rocket science. We see that it's working. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's just duplicate what's happening in the UK and put it in practice here. I know that's sort of pie in the sky and easier said than done when you talk about the political landscape of Canada and more specifically of Ontario right now, but those are all things that the tools are there. Guy, I know your answer to this question. If I ask you, would you do it again? Because you have done it again. You are doing it again with June's, but because I got asked this the night of, and have been asked by at least one person every day since, when's the next Be My HIValen+ine? Are you doing this again next year? And I said, I don't even want to think about next year right now, but would you be willing to participate again if we did something like this?
Without hesitation, and what I really want to say is thank you to you on behalf of us as activists for providing a venue, for providing a forum and a platform for us to put ourselves out there to normalize and familiarize and to educate. I mean, this is, after overcoming, what HIV means and the progress we've made as individuals to share that knowledge and that confidence, and that this is something that shouldn't be feared or shied away from. So yeah, thank you for creating an avenue for us.
I appreciate that. I mean,
It's working.
I could not have done it without each and every one of you and all the other partners that we've talked about around this event. It's this isn't the sort of thing that anyone does on their own. So, I haven't mentioned Andrew Shambi of the PrEP Clinic was another one of our sponsors, and Morgan Sheridan from Professionals in Practice, another amazing supporter within this community of all of us. We had Heretic Spirits, who provided the alcohol for the event. We cannot forget them. But
They were very well appreciated.
they were, definitely. And I think we saw in the video a shot of us doing a toast, and I've seen a number of pictures of us toasting and having a drink here or there. Although I didn't drink nearly as much as I thought I would because we were just too busy. But yes, well, we all wanted you to drink more, but but no,
It's working because it is reaching the masses. I've had clients come in and say, oh, I saw you on the news and
Wonderful.
saw you on Rogers, and I thought, oh, good, it's getting there. It's people I wouldn't have expected to pick up on some of that actually came and brought that forward. I thought, that's great. And did you listen? Did you get it?
yeah. And if you didn't, do you need to hear the message again? Yeah, yeah. Well, I know you've always talked about wanting to get a bus ad out and putting it on the buses and billboards and yeah. And that's certainly something that's within the scope of possibility and falls into some of the stuff I'm thinking about as the wheels start turning on, not necessarily another event, but an awareness campaign that's been brewing in the back of my mind for a while now, that certainly bus ads and billboards and faces, big faces out there that show.
Lights. Times Square.
Yes, exactly. And that's what it's all about. It's raising that awareness that we've already talked about ad nauseum today, that it's making sure folks are aware of what it means to live with HIV in 2020. And the more we talk about it and share our stories, and there are so many stories out there. We've just, tip of the iceberg, the four of us. There are so many other stories that I'm hoping to be able to bring to light and have people share as well. But it's a very personal thing to disclose as well, right, as we all know, and to find a diverse cross-section of folks living with HIV, especially in Simcoe County, that are willing to openly share those stories is not the easiest thing in the world to do. But I think the more we talk about it, hopefully the easier it becomes for some folks. Yes. You could probably testify to that yourself, and having listened to Guy and Carla and I tell our stories so much, I would like to think that has maybe helped to give you a little bit more comfort in being able to share your story publicly. So.
I think just like doing the whole Be My HIV Valentine and putting it up on Facebook, and then just to unplug from Facebook for a couple of days, just to let it all go out there and then come back with people's comments, has been all positive. So it's been quite a positive experience for me.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. There's still a part of me that is waiting for that negativity to come at me, and how do I deal with that? So it'll be, if it ever does, and how, that'll be the moment that I deal with that, right?
Well, I've said it to you before, if and when that does happen, you are not facing it alone.
I know, I'm not. I have
at the very least, the three of
you.
us beside you, in front of you, behind you, wherever you need us to be, we will be there. So thank you again. Unfortunately, our time this evening has come to an end, but I do want to thank each and every one of you again for making this event such a huge success. It absolutely surpassed any expectations I had for what Be My HIV Valentine would be. And like I said, for 2 years working on getting this off the ground, I would do it again in a heartbeat. So hopefully next year we'll do a similar rendition, maybe not on Valentine's Day, we'll maybe do something separate. But again, thank you to each and every one of you for being at the event, being part of the event, and for coming back on the show to talk about how it went.
Thank you.
That's it. That's the end of another episode of Let's Be Perfectly Queer. Be sure to tune in next week, and we'll get into more issues in the 2S LGBT community right here in Simcoe County.